I had been avoiding contact with Luna's father for the 5 years we'd been married because I wasn't as successful in my career as Luna. I was always seen as inferior in his eyes. But that day, Luna had a last-minute engagement and could only ask me to take her father for a medical checkup. At the hospital, we were informed that the appointment wasn't actually scheduled for that day. Luna's father instantly flew into a rage and started swinging his cane at me. I quickly tried to contact Luna, only to accidentally open a video that had been posted just 3 minutes earlier. In the video, Luna was wearing only a lace camisole, hand-washing a man's shirt in a bathroom sink. The caption read, "End of a long night. My boss took such good care of me. If one had a wife like this, what more could he ask for?" Watching Luna's gentle smile in the video, I suddenly felt like everything had lost its meaning. So, I commented directly beneath the video, "Wow, is he confessing?" Before taking Luna's father to the checkup, I had mentally prepared myself for a long time. Even though in his eyes, I was just a lowly teacher undeserving of his daughter, I still held on to a sliver of hope that one day I'd be accepted by her family. But things still went wrong. In the bustling hospital, the scene of Luna's father berating me at the top of his lungs quickly drew the attention of everyone around. And during all this, Luna's phone just wouldn't connect no matter how many times I called. I was so desperate. I even turned to the internet, hoping to find some reasonable way out of the situation. What I didn't expect was to stumble upon a video of Luna in a camisole washing clothes at another man's place. The caption read, "End of a long night. My boss took such good care of me. If one had a wife like this, what more could he ask for?" The video had been uploaded just 3 minutes ago. 3 minutes ago, I was being told we got the date wrong and being hit by Luna's father with a cane. At that same moment, Luna had ignored my calls because she was busy taking care of another man. I checked the uploader's profile. He had posted a photo of himself, a face I instantly recognized. Henry, Luna's direct subordinate. This little brother she always spoke so casually about had long ago quietly invaded our marriage. Looking again at Luna's careful scrubbing in the video, I felt like a bucket of cold water had been dumped over me. All my years of perseverance suddenly felt like a complete joke. I had no intention of tolerating it. So, I tagged Luna directly under the video and added a comment. "Wow, is he confessing?" After putting my phone away, Luna's father was still furiously yelling at me. I took a deep breath and calmly said, "Dad, Luna's the one who got the date wrong. I can't take your anger, and I don't have a solution either. You'll have to decide what to do." Luna's father was clearly shocked by my defiance. His hand trembled as he pointed at me, too angry to even speak, before finally storming off. After seeing him off, I returned home. As expected, Luna still wasn't back. Sitting in the empty house, a wave of bitterness slowly washed over me, followed by exhaustion. I slumped into the couch and slowly drifted off to sleep. Half asleep, I was jolted awake by the sound of the front door slamming shut. It was already dark outside. Luna stood at the doorway, glaring at me furiously. When she saw I was awake, she strode over to the couch. "Nathaniel, do you know how many times I called you? Why were you deliberately ignoring me?" I rubbed my forehead and reached for my phone only to realize it had died and shut off. I showed the phone to her. Luna paused for a second when she saw the black screen. The faint smell of alcohol and laundry detergent clung to her. As my thoughts cleared, the events of the day all came rushing back. I finally understood why Luna, who rarely ever contacted me first, was suddenly upset over being unable to reach me. Was it because I disrespected her father, or because of that comment? Luna still had a frown on her face as she spoke coldly. "You still shouldn't have let yourself be unreachable." I asked, "When exactly did you call me?" "When I've been trying to reach you the whole day, since 10 o'clock in the morning, I've been calling and messaging you nonstop." 10 o'clock in the morning. I remembered clearly it was shortly after I left that comment. So Luna wasn't too busy to check her phone. She knew how much I needed her then. She just didn't care. Not until I publicly challenged Henry did she finally react. I let out a bitter laugh and asked, "Luna, I go back and forth between school and home every day. If something was really urgent, couldn't you have just come to find me in person? Or did you have a reason you couldn't leave? Luna frowned, opened her mouth as if to speak, but said nothing. I've never been the type to play childish games like ignoring phone calls. I've just been really busy with work at school. If there's really nothing else going on, let's not force a conversation. I was mentally and physically drained, too tired to argue. After saying that, I went straight to the bedroom. Not long after, Luna followed. She sat down beside me and, in a rare moment of patience, began explaining. Nathaniel, my dad told me everything that happened today. I know you were innocent, but still, he's an elder. You should show him more respect. Respect? I've been cautious and respectful toward Luna's father for the past 5 years, only to be accused of disrespect in the end. And what about Luna's family? With everything they've done, when have they ever shown me any respect? Forget it. At this point, dwelling on all of this is meaningless. Luna thought I was still sulking, but she had no idea that what I was really thinking about was how to let her go. Seeing that I didn't respond, Luna took my arm and added, "All right, you look exhausted. Since work at school is so busy, why don't you just resign and rest at home for a while? It's not like teaching brings in much money anyway." For some reason, I found myself repelled by Luna's touch at that moment. I silently pulled my arm away, and only then did her words fully sink in, leaving a bitter taste. Back when Luna had just graduated and was struggling to find a job, it was this supposedly low-paying teaching job that supported her, put food on the table, kept her clothed and sheltered. I quietly stood behind her, her silent pillar. But now, I suppose in her eyes, I was just like this job, not even worth her time anymore. Luna, even if my salary isn't high, I still believe that teaching and shaping young minds is meaningful work. I might not be as free as you are with time to go to someone else's place to do laundry, but that doesn't mean I should quit. Something in my words seemed to strike a nerve. Luna abruptly stood up, her expression full of mockery. "Nathaniel, so this is what you really think, huh? You've been pretending to be indifferent this whole time. But deep down, you're just angry because of that video Henry posted. And don't think I didn't see that comment you left. He just had a bit too much to drink, and I couldn't leave him alone. Do you really have to push me like this?" Luna had said similar things before. Back when Henry first joined her team, she was overly attentive, always putting his needs first because she was worried he wouldn't fit in. Ironically, I had a bout of acute gastroenteritis at the time. On my way back from buying medicine, I realized I'd forgotten my keys. It was the middle of winter, freezing cold. I sat outside in pain and called Luna. She picked up half an hour later and, after hearing what I needed, flew into a rage. "Nathaniel, aren't you a grown man? How can you be so careless? It's freezing outside. Henry's place doesn't even have heating. I'm helping him shop for an air conditioner right now. Do you really need me to rush home just to open the door for you?" That day, for the first time, I was truly angry with Luna. I gave her the cold shoulder when she got home. She acted all pitiful, coaxing and coddling me, swearing she only saw Henry as a little brother. She said she'd just been overwhelmed and didn't mean to lash out. I believed her sweet words. I even blamed myself for being petty for arguing with her over a guy several years younger than me. Looking back now, it feels laughable, pathetic even. That night ended with us on bad terms. Luna went to sleep in the guest room. When I woke up the next morning, she was already gone. The house was a mess. Her clothes, shoes, and half-eaten food were scattered everywhere. If I didn't clean up, it would just stay like this forever. It's ridiculous when I think about it. 3 years of dating, 5 years of marriage, I spoiled Luna like a princess. She said she didn't know how to cook, that detergent would hurt her skin, so I took over all the housework without complaint. Who would have thought that this woman who wouldn't lift a finger at home would go wash another man's clothes, wearing nothing but a lace camisole in Henry's house, looking more like an old married couple with him than with me. After 8 years together, staring at the mess of Luna's things on the floor, I decided I wasn't going to clean up anymore. Soon enough, all of this would be packed up and taken out of this house anyway. Why bother? That evening after work, I was surprised to see Luna waiting outside the school gate. She leaned against her car, glancing my way like she'd been waiting for a long time. When she saw me, she quickly walked over. I was taken aback. "What are you doing here?" Luna bit her lip, lowered her head slightly, and said softly, "Nathaniel, I thought about everything today. I was wrong. I made you misunderstand. Slap me, then give me candy. That's Luna's usual tactic. There wasn't much to do at the office today, so I came to see you. Why don't we go eat at that little crab wonton place you like? Luna's favorite place, the crab meat wontons near the school. Whenever she didn't have an appetite, I'd always go by them for her, but they were her favorite, not mine. I closed my eyes briefly and said in a low voice, Luna, I'm allergic to seafood. I can't go eat crab wontons with you. After I said that, her face visibly froze. Maybe she realized how ridiculous it was to forget something like her own husband's allergy. She opened her mouth again, her voice tinged with guilt. I'm sorry. It's fine. No need to say more. I glanced at my watch. You should go home. I've got something to do. That wasn't a lie to avoid being alone with her. I really did have something to do. Every year, the school nominates teachers for overseas training programs. And every year, my name is on the list. But over the years, I had voluntarily given up those valuable opportunities for Luna's sake, willingly becoming a teaching assistant with no prospects. Now, with nothing left in this country to keep me here, I was finally determined not to postpone my plans any longer. I had already scheduled a meeting with a colleague from the academic office to discuss the overseas training. That meeting was about to start soon. Just then, Luna's phone rang. She hesitated as she looked at the caller ID, but answered the call anyway. Because we were standing close, I could hear Henry's voice on the other end. As Luna listened, her brow furrowed deeper and deeper. What? Don't hang up. I'll be right there. I didn't know what Henry had said, but Luna instantly turned frantic. She spun around and rushed to the car, only remembering me just as she was about to close the door. Nathaniel, something urgent came up at the company. I have to go check on it. I was already numb to the fact that Luna could drop everything and run to Henry at any moment. But this time, I didn't feel like playing the understanding husband anymore. What if I said, I don't want you to go? Luna froze, probably shocked that I, who had always obeyed her, would say no. She looked torn. Nathaniel, please don't make this hard for me. This is really important. Oh, what's so urgent? Luna stammered, but said nothing. She bit her lip, then got in the car anyway, leaving only a parting line. I'll come pick you up tomorrow. At that moment, my 2 days of indecision became clear. I silently made up my mind. Looking at Luna's anxious face, I smiled faintly and shook my head. No need. You don't ever have to come again. By the time I got to the academic office, it was already evening. I knocked on the door, and for a while, there was no response. Just as I was about to assume no one was inside, a muffled voice finally came. Come in. Inside, only one person was sitting there, Arya, the team leader and my colleague of many years. But her eyes were red, as if she had just cried. Arya was always known for her efficiency and strong work ethic. A young postdoctoral scholar, she had once been disappointed in me for repeatedly turning down opportunities for further study, thinking I lacked ambition. So, her current vulnerable state caught me completely off guard. Professor Arya, what's wrong? Are you okay? She looked down and cleared her throat before lifting her head again. Her usual calm demeanor had returned, though the redness around her eyes remained and her voice was still. Sorry, just some personal matters. Please don't mind it. She gestured for me to sit down and then got up to gather a thick stack of documents, placing them in front of me. Professor Nathaniel, while I'm glad to see you finally coming around and being proactive about continuing your education, we still have to go through the proper process. Take a look at these materials. Arya explained the key points with patience, as though nothing had happened. We had worked together for years, and I had always admired her independence and strength. Arya, I interrupted her gently. Do you remember what you told me 2 years ago when I gave up my chance to go abroad? I want to return those words to you now. That had been my 4th time turning down the offer. Arya had assumed I was afraid of life overseas and had earnestly tried to reason with me. She'd said, life has both exploitation and gifts. Don't let the obstacles in front of you tie your hands and feet. I didn't have the right to pry into what was troubling her now, but I hoped those same words might bring her some comfort. Arya tilted her head thoughtfully for a moment, then gave a small smile. All right, I understand. Arya and I talked about the overseas program for 3 hours. We were so immersed in the discussion that I didn't realize how exhausted I was until after I left. When I finally got home, all I wanted was a hot shower and a long sleep. But when I opened the door to my bedroom, I saw Henry sitting on my bed, leaning against the headboard, and Luna sitting beside him, carefully feeding him a bowl of porridge. When she saw me, Luna wasn't the least bit surprised. In fact, she was the one to speak first, almost accusingly. "You're back so late. The house is such a mess. Why haven't you cleaned up?" Henry coughed weakly and gently grabbed the hand Luna was using to hold the spoon. "Luna, don't blame him. He's probably just really busy with work. It's understandable if he doesn't take care of the house once in a while." Then he started coughing again. Luna quickly patted his back to calm him and said with frustration, "You need rest. Stop worrying so much." What was this? The two of them in my home, in my bedroom, right in front of me, acting like some loving couple. A wave of nausea rose in my chest as I stared at Henry, still coughing. I turned to Luna and asked coldly, "What exactly is the meaning of this?" Luna settled Henry before turning to face me calmly. "Nathaniel, Henry's not feeling well. He's out here alone with no one to take care of him. I thought it'd be best if he moved in for a while to recover." Then, as if remembering something, she quickly added, "He has stomach problems and can't eat greasy or spicy food. When you cook, try to be mindful of that." I stared at her in disbelief, wondering if I'd misheard. "You want me to cook and take care of your lover?" Luna suddenly looked up at me, her face tinged with annoyance. "Nathaniel, are you out of your mind? What do you mean by serving your lover? You know perfectly well I can't cook and can't take care of him. I just asked you to make a few meals. Is that really so outrageous? Besides, Henry has a weak constitution and chronic stomach problems. Can't you show a little empathy? If he's sick, he should go to the hospital. Don't discuss me here." I rummaged through the drawer, pulled out some antacids and painkillers, and slammed them onto the table in front of Henry. "I've tried all these brands. They work pretty well. You got hands and feet. If you've got the energy to lie around here, use your brain to figure out how to get better." Henry fumbled to catch the pills, looking helplessly at Luna. She looked a bit lost herself. "Nathaniel, why do we even have these? What, did you get a stomach problem?" Of course, Luna didn't know I had a serious stomach condition. Over the years, every time I had an attack, she was nowhere to be found. Even when I was in agonizing pain, all I ever got from her was a cold, "I'm busy." How many of those times she was truly busy, and how many were spent with someone else, I'll never know. In her first few years of work, Luna was constantly overwhelmed. She was young and inexperienced, often looked down on by clients and sidelined by colleagues. She carried pressure from all sides. When she got home, she couldn't hold back the tears. Her emotions would explode. I felt sorry for her. More than that, I worried her body wouldn't hold out. So, I carved out time to run around checking on her projects, personally packed and delivered her lunch, and made sure she ate it. Watching her get better day by day, even though I was so exhausted I could fall asleep walking, I still felt content. Of course, it was during that time that I developed my stomach condition. I remember clearly right after I graduated, I had to head straight to construction sites. The road there was bumpy and full of dust, and I had to go back and forth several times a day. It was so hot I had no appetite, and it wasn't long before I developed acute gastroenteritis, which then triggered a high fever that same night. Luna was terrified and stayed up with me all night. When she saw the fever finally break, her eyes turned red with emotion. She hugged me tightly and whispered, "Nathaniel, you can't go on like this. Nothing is more important than you." Back then, she cried and said nothing was more important than me. Now she doesn't even know I've suffered from stomach issues for years. But Henry's minor aches and pains are enough to make her toss and turn at night. The three of us stood frozen in an awkward standoff. Henry, clutching the medicine, looked troubled, but eventually forced himself to say to me, "Bro, you shouldn't take medicine blindly. It has to match the diagnosis." "Oh, really?" I raised an eyebrow. "Afraid it won't work? Or are you just not sick and have been faking all along?" Henry's eyes darted between me and Luna before finally settling on her. I wasn't looking at the two of them. I just felt annoyed. I went straight to the door and opened it. "Take the meds or don't. Up to you now. Leave." I'm not seeing you out. Henry stared at me in disbelief. You're kicking me out? I closed my eyes briefly, unable to understand where his surprise was coming from. I said in a low voice, "What else did you think? Want me to say it again? Get out." Henry's face turned purple with anger. Maybe he was done pretending. He jabbed a finger at me and shouted, "This is Luna's house. What right do you have to kick me out?" That look on his face was all too familiar. The same look Luna's father gave me, full of contempt. They all think I live off Luna, that I'm some freeloading pretty boy with no right to resist anything she asks. But the truth is, I've never spent a cent of Luna's money. Even this apartment was the last thing my parents left me. Before they passed, it was Luna who held my hand and promised them she'd stay by my side. Only 5 years later, everything has changed. At that moment, I really wanted to know what Luna was thinking. I lifted my chin and said to Henry, "You think I don't have the right to kick you out? Then ask Luna to kick me out herself." Enough. Luna stepped between us, frowning, and said quietly to Henry, "Go home for now. I'll come see you later." Hearing that, Henry's eyes turned red instantly. He gave me a bitter look, grabbed his things, and stormed out. Luna stared after his slightly dejected figure, hesitated for a moment, and then followed him to the door. But she was back in less than 2 minutes. "Nathaniel, I didn't expect Henry to say those things, but he's 5 years younger than you. Do you really have to be so harsh with a kid?" "It won't happen again," I said calmly. Luna seemed a little relieved and asked tentatively, "What's going on with you lately? Your temper's getting worse. Did something happen?" "Luna, let's get a divorce." The moment I said it, I felt surprisingly calm. No waves, no pain. "What did you say?" Luna's eyes widened, and it took her a full 30 seconds to find her voice. I said, "Let's get a divorce." I repeated, or if you prefer a gentler way of putting it, "Since you really love him, I'll step aside." Luna stared straight at me, the anger on her face becoming more and more obvious. "Nathaniel, I get that you're mad at me, but that doesn't mean you should joke about our marriage." "Don't worry, I'm not joking." I pulled a suitcase out of the closet and looked at Luna calmly. "I'll be staying at the faculty apartment for a while. Contact me whenever you've made up your mind, though I imagine you won't need long." Panic finally flickered across Luna's face. She stretched out her arms to block the door. "Nathaniel, are you threatening me? All this just because of Henry?" I was only helping him out because he's alone as both his supervisor and an older sister figure. Since you didn't welcome him, I already asked him to leave. Why are you still making a big deal out of this? You think I'm divorcing you just because you brought him home today? Or is it about the video from the other day? Luna frowned and let out a frustrated sigh. "You're really overthinking it. That night, we were at a business dinner and he accidentally spilled wine on himself. I helped him wash it. Just a casual favor. And I was planning to come home early after seeing your comment, but Henry got drunk and kept clinging to me, not letting me leave. I honestly couldn't do anything about it. So, she had always known what I cared about. She understood everything but chose not to explain, chose not to care about how I felt. Nathaniel, now that we've cleared up all the misunderstandings, can you stop being so angry? In the past, I never would have believed a day would come when Luna would beg me to stay. There was even a trace of fear in her voice. In this relationship, Luna and her father, for that matter, had always been the one standing on higher ground. Anytime I showed the slightest dissatisfaction, I was instantly labeled a husband who lacked understanding and tolerance. No matter how much love I had for her, it had been slowly worn away over the years, especially when all of my love went to Luna, but all of her attention was on another man. Luna, are you really lying to yourself? Henry's not your brother. He's a grown man who clearly has feelings for you. Don't tell me you can't see that. Let me ask you, during these 8 years we've been together, have you ever washed my clothes even once? To you, helping him was just something you did in passing. But to me, it was my own wife wearing just a camisole in another man's home, doing something for him you never once did for me. How is that not crossing a line? Luna bit her lip tightly and muttered, "It's not like that." I pushed her hand off the doorframe, but she grabbed me back. "I don't agree to a divorce," Luna said slowly and firmly. I responded with silence. The faculty apartment was fully furnished. I only needed to bring a few personal items. Just as I arrived at the building, the door next to mine swung open, and Arya rushed out, soaking wet and frantically looking around. "What's wrong, Miss Arya?" Her eyes lit up when she saw me, as if she'd spotted her savior. "Nathaniel, quick! The bathroom pipe burst. Do you know how to fix it?" When I stepped inside, I finally understood why she was in such a mess. The bathroom looked like a waterfall cave, but the situation wasn't too serious. After tightening the last screw, the sound of rushing water gradually stopped. Arya stared at the pipe in amazement. "So that's what was wrong." "Yeah, it must have come loose over time." As I responded, I bent down to pack up my tools. My hands were wet, and I didn't hold the wrench securely. It slipped and left a long cut on my hand. "Ah," Arya gasped, and immediately pulled me over to treat it. "It's not that serious, really. A Band-Aid will do." "No way. If you don't treat this properly, it'll leave a scar." She gripped my hand tightly as I tried to pull it back and began carefully wrapping it with gauze round and round. Afraid of hurting me, Arya's movements were gentle and precise. A warmth rose in my chest, and I stopped resisting. She had only recently moved in about 2 months ago, if I remembered correctly. But despite the short time, Arya had already turned the small apartment into a cozy home. A warm yellow lamp, beige furniture, woven bamboo baskets. Everything gave off a sense of belonging. Clearly, Arya was not only competent at work, but also self-sufficient in life. She had already noticed my suitcase and asked, "Why are you suddenly moving in here?" I figured there was nothing to hide. People would find out eventually anyway, so I answered honestly, "I'm getting a divorce. A period of separation seems appropriate." Arya looked briefly surprised, but quickly began offering words of comfort. "I didn't expect you to be so good at saying comforting things," I said. Arya gave a small cough. "You're trying to say I usually come off as cold, but now I'm showing I actually have empathy, huh?" I quickly waved my hands. "Not at all. I've never thought you were cold. I know. Back then you were just disappointed in me for not being ambitious enough. That's why you were a bit distant." Arya looked at my hand, now wrapped up like a pig's trotter, swinging back and forth, and couldn't help but burst out laughing. "All done. But seriously, how are you going to live on your own with your hand like that? Come eat at my place for the time being. That's too much trouble. It's really not that bad." Arya deliberately put on a stern face. "What? Are you afraid my cooking's terrible? I'll have you know I'm pretty decent in the kitchen. Besides, you got hurt helping me, so I have to take responsibility. If you keep turning me down, I'll feel too embarrassed to ever ask you for help again." She stared at me without blinking. I couldn't take the pressure of that gaze and came up with a compromise. "Then I'll buy the groceries." Arya finally smiled with satisfaction. "Deal." During my time at the apartment, I go buy groceries after work every day and drop them off with Arya. After a short rest, she'd call me over to eat, spatula in hand. We gradually went from being old colleagues to comfortable dinner companions. As I got to know Arya better, I realized that beneath her cold exterior as the department head, she was actually gentle and had a strong sense of independence in private. One day after work, the school suddenly called a meeting for teachers going abroad for further studies. By the time it ended, the sky was already dark. On my way back to the apartment, I saw someone from a distance carrying a big basket of groceries. It was Arya. I quickly walked up to her and took the basket from her hands. She glanced at me. "You're back already?" I thought the meeting would take at least 2 hours. I rushed back to try Chef Arya's cooking. "What's on the menu today?" Arya blinked playfully. "Steamed lamb, steamed beer paw, and steamed deer tail." "Nice. Then I guess we're also having roasted swan, roasted chick, and roasted goose." We laughed and joked as we walked, and before we knew it, we'd reached our doors. We were neighbors after all. Just as she pulled out her keys to open her door, I heard a noise behind us. In the corner near my apartment door, someone had squatted down at some point. As she slowly stood up, I realized with a jolt it was Luna. "Nathaniel, who is she? What's your relationship with her?" Luna's eyes darted between Arya and me, then suddenly locked onto my hand. Her expression turned anxious. "What happened to your hand? Why is it wrapped like that?" She rushed over to grab my hand, but I dodged away. "What are you doing here?" Luna noticed my subtle avoidance, and her lips quivered, looking aggrieved. Nathaniel, don't be like this with me. I just came to bring you home. But seeing her on the verge of tears didn't stir a single emotion in me. I knew that if I gave in now, if I once again let my heart soften and believed her words, I'd be betraying the version of myself who had already suffered so much. Luna, have you even thought seriously about what I said? Or do you still think this is just a petty argument between us? Nathaniel, don't talk like that. Maybe my tone was too cold. Tears instantly rolled down Luna's cheeks. I've really thought it through these past few days. I know I was wrong. I know I didn't care about you enough, and I shouldn't have kept prioritizing Henry over you. But Nathaniel, we've been together for 8 years. How can you be so heartless and just leave me like this? You can't do this to me. I turned around and faced away from her, my voice icy. Come find me when you've truly made up your mind. I hope it won't take too long. After all, the paperwork for going abroad was already in motion. If we didn't finalize the divorce soon, once I left the country, it would drag on for another 2 years. Nathaniel, Luna suddenly shouted, then pointed viciously at Arya. You're so determined to divorce me. Is it because of her? You were just about to go inside with her, weren't you? What? Can't wait to move in together? And you had the nerve to accuse me of being unfaithful. But look at yourself. I hadn't expected Luna to jump to so many conclusions just from that brief moment. Before I could say anything, Arya stepped in front of me. Miss Luna, if you continue making baseless accusations, I could sue you for defamation. Luna sneered. Sue me? Do you even know Nathaniel and I aren't divorced yet? This is infidelity, and you're the mistress. Luna, that's enough. I tried to stop her, but Arya held me back and calmly said to Luna, Nathaniel injured his hand while helping me fix something. It's my responsibility to take care of him. He only came into my apartment because I invited him to dinner. There's been no inappropriate behavior between us. I have a clear conscience. But you, Miss Luna, there's still that video of you washing another man's clothes online, the caption full of ambiguity. If we're talking about cheating during a marriage, maybe you should start by reflecting on yourself. You, how do you know about that? Luna was clearly stunned. Her angry expression had turned pale. Don't be surprised. That video's been on the platform for quite a while. Even I came across it. I tugged Arya's arm. Forget it. There's no need to say more. No, don't go yet. Luna hurried after me, panicked. Nathaniel, I didn't know that video was still up. I'll contact him right away and get taken down. Please don't leave me over something like this, okay? I said helplessly. Luna, this has long since become more than just a video. You're smart. Don't pretend you don't understand. Luna still stubbornly shook her head and started dialing a number. Nathaniel, I'll have him delete the video tonight. I swear I won't contact Henry again. Just wait for me. I'll come again tomorrow. After Luna left, an awkward tension lingered in the air. Facing Arya, I couldn't help but feel a little ashamed. Sorry for dragging you into this. Arya invited me in. As she poured tea, she spoke softly. You don't need to feel embarrassed or anything. I understand how you feel. After all, I'm not doing much better myself. Remember when you asked how I was doing in the office that day? I had just had a huge fight with my mom and cried afterwards. She was criticizing me for being 30 and still unmarried. She even introduced me to a man and insisted we get married this year. I refused, so she threatened to make a scene at my workplace using the career I value most as leverage. Honestly, later on, I did consider it. I thought maybe I should just get married. Maybe that would shut her up. After all, what's one more person in my life? I figured I could endure it, but then they demanded I quit my job after getting married and have a child within a year. That was too much. That's when I realized I'd never been respected in their eyes. I have my own career, my own dreams. That's my bottom line. Even if it's my own mother, she doesn't get to make that decision for me. So, I moved out, and I've been resisting them ever since. At this point, Arya's eyes had turned red. I handed her a tissue. Arya, thank you. These are deeply personal things. You didn't have to reopen old wounds just to comfort me. No, Arya looked at me sincerely. I just wanted to tell you, whether it's my mother or your ex-wife, they both tried to make decisions for us under the guise of love. But who we truly are is not something anyone else gets to define. As she said this, her eyes shone with a quiet brilliance, as if it could pierce through the heaviest shadows in one's heart. From that day on, Luna waited for me outside the apartment every day. Of course, every time ended in disappointment. Then, for a while, she suddenly stopped showing up. Just as I thought she had finally decided to give up on the marriage, she appeared again, but for a different reason. Nathaniel, do you remember that money I left with you before? I need it now. Something urgent came up. Luna's tone carried an unmistakable urgency. That money had been deposited with me back when her career was stable. She had once told me that no matter what she said in the future, I must never let her touch it lightly. It was her safety net, something to be used only in the most critical circumstances. I didn't know what kind of trouble she was facing now, but I frowned slightly and asked cautiously, "Are you sure? You should really think this through. That money was meant for something important." Just then, Luna's father suddenly stormed out and shouted at me without warning. "Nathaniel, what's that supposed to mean? You're refusing to return the money. Let me tell you, you're illegally holding someone else's property. If you have any sense, hand over the money now for Henry's investment." "Dad, what are you talking about? That's not it at all." "Nathaniel, listen to me." Luna seemed afraid I would misunderstand and quickly began explaining. "I'm using that money to invest in myself, not for Henry. Henry told me he has connections and that this project could yield big returns. Once the project's done and I make some money, I can quit my job and I won't be so busy anymore. Then I can spend more time with you. Please believe me. Henry and I are just business partners. Once the project ends, we'll part ways. I won't have anything to do with him anymore. I'm doing all this for you. Luna, why are you explaining so much to him? It's your money. He has no right to keep it from you." Her father continued with his sarcastic jabs. "If you ask me, a driven man like Henry deserves my daughter, not like someone who only knows how to teach and enjoy life with no ambition at all. Dad, can you not make things worse?" Luna was so anxious she almost covered his mouth herself. At the same time, she kept glancing at me, worried that I'd be upset. But in the 5 years we were married, her father had insulted me constantly. Luna used to turn a deaf ear, and now she suddenly cared about my feelings. "Don't you think it's a little too late?" I asked. "Luna, have you thought any more about the divorce?" "Nathaniel, why are you bringing that up again? Can't we not get divorced?" I thought for a moment and said, "Strictly speaking, money is marital property. But don't worry, I'm not saying I won't give it back. On one condition, as long as you agree to the divorce, you can do whatever you want with the money. I won't keep a single cent." Luna's lips parted. She stammered, "No, I won't get a divorce." "Are you sure? Because I might change my mind as early as tomorrow." Luna fell silent. A long while later, with red eyes, she finally nodded and agreed to my proposal. Before I left, Ariel's words echoed in my mind. I stopped Luna's father and said to him, "Teaching isn't about entertaining. What kind of person I am is not something you can define with a few words." From that moment on, his contempt would no longer affect me in the slightest. After finalizing the divorce, we went straight to the bank to withdraw money. When I handed the money over to Luna, I still gave her a friendly reminder to think it through carefully. Luna took the money and looked at me seriously. "Nathaniel, believe me, it won't take long. I will definitely win you back. We'll never be apart again." I didn't want to argue with her. I simply smiled and said, "Good luck." With most of my affairs back home settled, I focused all my energy on preparing to study abroad. The next time I saw Luna was the day before I was set to leave. She stood at my door, looking worn out. The dark circles under her eyes couldn't be concealed no matter how much makeup she wore. I had heard bits and pieces about what had happened to her. Henry had scammed her, and the investment project turned out to be tied to a transnational fraud ring. So far, all the money she'd put in had been swept away with little chance of recovering it. Luna looked at me deeply, her voice trembling. "Nathaniel, I heard you're going abroad. Why didn't you tell me? There is no need to. We have nothing to do with each other anymore." This time, Luna didn't rush to deny it. After everything, there was a weariness in her face, a touch of maturity. "Nathaniel, I'll wait for you to come back. When you do, I'll be a successful Luna." After saying that, as if afraid to hear my rejection, she gave me a faint smile and walked away without looking back. I didn't think much of it. I grabbed a few things and went to say goodbye to Arya. She looked surprised when she opened the door and quickly took the fruit from my hands. Your flight is tomorrow. Why aren't you resting early? And you even brought a gift. Looking at this friend who had shared so many meals with me, I suddenly felt a bit reluctant to part. I pretended to be casual and said, thanks for all the meals. My hands are pretty much healed now. When I come back, I'll cook for you. My food's not bad either. Really? Arya smiled. Then how long do I have to wait to taste it? Just 2 years. I blurted out, then gave a sheepish laugh. Which isn't that long, right? Arya gave me a mysterious wink and teased. Yeah, real soon. I've got a feeling I'll be tasting it much sooner than that. That night, as I lay in bed, I found it hard to sleep, thinking about leaving the city I'd grown up in and about Arya. The next day, I almost missed my flight. I rushed to the airport only to find I wasn't the last to arrive. Everyone was still waiting on someone. Hey, she's here, someone said. Following their gaze, I spotted a familiar figure, Arya, hurrying over. She bowed repeatedly, a bit embarrassed. Sorry, the traffic was bad. Let me introduce myself. I'm Arya, the lead teacher for this trip. In that moment, I finally understood her mysterious smile from the night before. She will be tasting my cooking soon, just not in this country. After introducing herself, Arya's gaze swept over the group, finally settling on me, as if we shared the same thought.